everybody, and welcome to the Dev Morning Show at Night. My name is Cassidy Williams, and I am here with my lovely co-host, as always, Zach Plata. Hey, Zach.
Hey, Cass. We've got some holidays coming up soon. Do you have any interesting trips planned?
Yeah, I'm just seeing a lot of family over the next month and a half, which is exciting. But it's also so many humans to see, which I'm excited about. What about you?
Same. Yeah. Thankfully, just staying in the area. Usually I'd have to fly back to Chicago from wherever I live, but now I can just take a hop over to the suburbs and see my fam and head home.
That's pretty nice to be able to live close to family. Speaking of someone who has a family, we have Michael Chan on the show.
Excellent transition. That was beautiful. Wow.
Thanks. Chan is a DX engineer, a creator, a podcaster extraordinaire, and is super cool. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Me and I actually don't have children with me right now, so we're good.
We're good. If they come running in, that's fine.
All good.
Do you have any fun holiday plans?
Ooh, I mean, I feel like fun and holiday plans are kind of, it's like a questionable pairing right there. There will be family, and we will make fun, I'm sure.
Great.
But yeah, no, food. I mean, food's the best part of holidays.
The food is the driving thing. Yeah.
It is. That I feel like if there was not food, nobody would get together because I don't know, who wants to see their family without their favorite dishes in hand? I think maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
It's I love my family, so I don't.
But I also love my mashed potatoes. So
and pumpkin pie. I love that it is pumpkin pie season.
Oh my gosh, yeah, pumpkin pie. Okay, something that I've gotten into recently is I always, as a kid, thought yams, the candied yams, were the grossest thing, and I think post 30 now I'm this is the best part of the meal, the candied yams.
They're so good. And that is definitely a sign of being old because I feel I was the exact same way. Where I remember all the grown-ups would be like, it's like candy. And I'm like, it's not candy. It's a potato. But now I'm like,
that's a tuber.
Yes. I feel the same way about green bean casserole. I feel like I was just very about it as a child. But now I'm like, okay. Yeah,
just
this
it's
sounds
healthy.
Actually great.
It's tasty. You can add some little crunchies in there.
Oh my gosh, the crunchies. Okay, question though about the green bean casserole, because I feel like something about the holidays is you have this mix of traditions, right? And one family prepares it this way, another family prepares it this way. Both think that they're the best. It's like a real East Coast, West Coast, red vines, whatever the other one is, type of situation. So for the green bean casserole in particular, do you do the canned green beans or do you do fresh green beans?
I think fresh. I am not much of a cook at all. I like to eat little packets of applesauce and that's how I feed myself. But if I recall, the people who I care about who feed me go fresh.
I think I go canned, but I don't have a preference.
Okay.
They're all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
They are all good.
Yeah.
I mean, you put those French's onion rings on anything and it's better.
So good.
1,000.
Man, let's turn this into a food podcast and not ask any questions.
All right.
Done. But we probably shouldn't. So what are you working on right now? Oh, I caught you right as you're thinking. Okay.
Yeah,
go.
no, it's right. Oh, also, for those listening, continue on the food podcast for a little bit. I feel like there are tiers of crap coffee, and I feel like Dunkin' is the S tier crap coffee. Anyway, just thought I'd say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. In the pandemic, I've become a tea snob.
Oh,
that's just the direction I've gone in, and I am full force. I go to local tea shops only, and I get loose leaf tea bags, and I go with the recommendations of the people running the shops, and it is so fun. We're I used to be the person going for like a crappy cup of tea or coffee at like a Dunkin' or a Starbucks or something, but now I have a system and I feel so fancy and it's so good.
Oh.
You're a tea system person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
you brew
elaborate
it at
real
different
quick.
times and everything.
So you have like temperature, time, like your perfect mix of like
All of it.
external ingredients.
Yes. And it's so good. I feel like it's like a little treat every single time.
We really do need to start a tech foodie podcast. Where is this show? I want to I want to elaborate on like this system, because I've never gotten into the tea system, but like people who love tea have a system. Like that's what makes tea.
Yeah. And then if it's not some kind of fancy tea, it's boba. And I know that Zach has particular feelings about this. We get boba a lot.
Too much.
But it's so good.
Boba is great. Boba is great. Okay, to answer your
what
question,
are you working on
sorry, this
right
is going to be
now?
all over the place. Like
Yes,
I swear.
fine.
So right now, I'm working on, every year I do this thing called React Holiday, and it's just kind of this celebration of React at the end of the year. It's like roughly in the like Advent 25 days thing, except I make no promises about how many you're going to get. So yeah, it's just at react.holiday. I think this year I'm probably going to, like, despite my long lasting feelings like against Next, this year is really interesting because, you know, Next incorporated a lot of like React like 18 features that we haven't been able to see anywhere else. And so I'm really excited to play with kind of all of the new React 18 features, and Next seems to be like the only place that I can do it. So I think I'm going to go through the alpha Next typey stuff. So I'm going to be doing that. I usually do it as a newsletter, so react.holiday. And then I'll probably put out a bunch of videos and shorts on my YouTube channel, which I'm trying to get better at. It's at Chantastic now.
It's awesome.
React Holiday is incredibly fun to read through. I read through it every year. It's always good. Even if it's something that I generally know, it's still just good refreshers. And then you always learn a little something new at some point during it. And so highly recommend reading through that.
Well, thank you for reading it. I appreciate that. That makes me feel good.
Of course. I have to make a competitor with Preact Holiday now.
Ooh.
It's spicy.
What were we going to say, Zach?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it's really opportune. I feel like I barely get any time to like keep up with any of the latest React features and all these things. And so like having it at a time where it's kind of like slowing down and get a little more time to yourself, it'd be good to just have some kind of resource to look at all these things. So yeah, I'm excited to check this out.
Yeah, I feel like the whole like Advent thing is super fun because, you know, you are kind of like winding down on certain projects. Like you're not going to be pushing a lot of stuff in those like last couple weeks, presumably. And it's fun to just be like, okay, what can I learn? Like what, you know, it'd be fun. And then holiday stuff is always just like extra. Like it's always a little bit silly, and like you have these like really strained metaphors for like joy and Thanksgiving and all that, and I love it. Like I'm so into like strained metaphors.
Same. I love being able to really push the limits, or just like puns where it's like reindeer reader welcome, or just something like that.
Exactly. There's so much opportunity.
Well, speaking of pushing the limits, Cass, I think it's time to talk about a company that is pushing our limits of podcasts.
That's a great transition to an ad read, Zach.
Great. The Dev Morning Show at Night is a sponsored podcast. It means someone has to pay the bills around here. We're sponsored by LaunchDarkly, and LaunchDarkly is the first scalable feature management platform. That means dev teams can innovate and get better software to customers faster. How? By gradually releasing new software features and shipping code whenever they want, fast-tracking their journeys to the cloud, and building stronger relationships with business teams. Thanks for the money, LaunchDarkly.
Chan, what does your day-to-day look like?
Okay, so my day pretty much always starts the same way. Because I'm, you know, getting older, I wake up about 15 minutes before my 6:45 alarm at 6:30. I realized that I forgot to plug my phone in the night before, and I plug it in, and then I step out trying to be really quiet because my kids really like wake up when I go into the house. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have some quiet time. And then because my phone's now plugged in, exactly 15 minutes later my alarm goes off, and then I run into my bedroom, waking everybody up, and then the day starts. So that's like kind of like the beginning of pretty much every day. And it's regrettable every day, and I've never improved it. It's just a broken system in my life, and it's everybody else's alarm right now. And then I think after that, I spend like the most of the day just kind of like stressing out about what I'm going to do and in which order, and then kind of in the last hour of the day trying to jam it all in, and then rinse and repeat.
This is one of the most honest answers we've had to this question yet, and I really appreciate it.
I mean, that's honestly like I stress out a lot, and so like it sounds like maybe too on the nose, but it is like in fact like the way that I work typically, and that last hour is fairly hyper productive, to be honest. But so most of the, like in terms of what I'm doing these days, I'm working with a company called Chromatic, and working on the Storybook channel, and I'm making a bunch of YouTube videos. And I feel like this actual pattern has gotten worse now that I'm kind of a little bit more in like a creative space and not so much in a code pushing space where I can kind of hide behind certain things. I just really like stress out about being like on camera and saying the right thing, and not locking some stupid misconception into the annals of time for the rest of eternity. So that's where I'm at most of the day until the last hour of it.
I definitely relate to the on camera as I look at a camera right now. But it's one of those things where you do have to kind of be careful about everything that you record, because you're not a jerk. I like to think that we're all not jerks, but sometimes if you just misword something in some way, the internet takes it in a weird direction and stuff. So you have to kind of be careful with your scripts, be careful with how you explain something, because you don't want to explain something in a certain way that's really confusing as people are learning something new. There's a lot of different ways of communicating that can be tough when you are recording it and it's on camera.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like I worry a lot about that side of like putting someone on the wrong path, right? Like kind of off by an inch and then like off by a mile. And like that stresses me out a lot. But I know that like you've had to like balance that with also like getting every single word right, or all of the trolls are going to come out and just like pounce on you. I think I experienced that less, and I really like I can't imagine ever creating if I had to if I had more of that in the mix. That would like I would just be a puddle on the floor most of the days.
It's a thing. But it's all for the joy of teaching and learning.
It's such a unique and like different skill set that like I think moving into DevRel specifically, like it's something that kind of catches you off guard, like, oh yeah, I think I know this thing, but once you have to teach people, it's like, oh, do I know this thing? No.
That
Zach
right there. They're just like
Yeah, Zach did a live stream recently that was the most entertaining thing, because he teaches very cool stuff at Rive at his company, and something was going wrong, and you just saw like the panic come out just for a second, because he was like, no, as he was trying to fix it, and it was perfect. But it's those kinds of things where
yes,
you got to figure it out, especially if you're live and not recording it. Gosh.
I swear streaming is such a great way to get over that, though. Like I love streaming something first because and I think that, like people who are there, I've been saying recently that we are at a loss of quality for quality hecklers. And I think something that's really beautiful about streaming is like someone is there, like it's like the best quality of heckler generally if you have like a, you know, fairly kind audience and whatnot, because they're there, they like want you to succeed, and they will tell you what you're doing wrong in an effort to help you succeed. And I love that. That is very beautiful, beautiful symbiosis. And like, I feel like that, like introducing that has helped me on the other stuff. Cause like, oh yeah, I already went through the crap part of it where I said everything wrong. And now I know all the right ways to say things. Thank you, friends and community.
Right. That's a very real thing where I've like recently I ran into a bug and I was thinking, okay, maybe if I pull this up on a live stream, someone in like the chat will just say, oh, this is what you're doing wrong, and I'll solve the bug. But then when I ran it, it worked. And I was just kind of stunned on stream, like, well, y'all fixed it, but I don't know why. That was a whole other side of that.
It's a great moment to capture.
Yeah, they saw my rage.
So, Jan, what kind of tools do you use on a daily basis?
Yeah, so that has been shifting quite a bit recently, and I actually prepared a little bit of a list for this. So I'm going to read them off, but I use DaVinci Resolve as my editor a ton. I love it. I feel like I might make a course about it because I think it's so awesome, and as content becomes more important, you know, to the world, there are things that I've learned the hard way that I think that could really like help people not have to do all that stuff. But next on the list is Descript. Just came out with a new version recently, and it's awesome. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it may just replace video editing for most people anyway. So that I use Arc, VS Code, GitHub a lot, Notion. And then on the AV side, I have I'm shooting on a Sony A7 IV, got a Cam Link, I have a Wave XLR, and then my Shure SM7B. So that's kind of, I mean, apart from my laptop, that's pretty much all the tools that I'm using these days.
Wow, I love it. I would also love to see a course on DaVinci Resolve because I downloaded it, opened it, and I was like, oh no, I'm lost immediately.
It's true. It's so incredibly overwhelming. But it's so good. Like when you actually like get around it.
Right. Yeah. And what's kind of your tech stack of choice lately? Is it still just, I shouldn't say just React. Is it React, or are you kind of experimenting with other things?
Yeah. So my personal site, which is a train wreck, at chan.dev, and this will filter into one of our upcoming questions here. I love 11D. 11D is like my favorite way to build a website because it just, you don't have any of that like React like life cycle nonsense. It's just you write some markdown and make a bunch of pages on the internet, and it's beautiful. It's my favorite way to make a website. I feel like a kid again when I'm using it.
That one is really good. Between that one and Astro, it feels almost like a return to web dev before React and stuff, because it's simple, but you can add complex stuff if you want to.
Yeah, I feel like we're at this like, and I realize that I'm older than both of you, but like I feel like we're at this age in technology where we're kind of all buying like our Camaros, right? Where it's like we saw, like as a kid, we're like, oh, all I want is whatever Camaro the year is that you came online to cars. And then like as a middle-aged person, you're like, I'm gonna go buy that Camaro because I have money now. I feel like
Finally.
that's where we're at in like, internet technologies. We're like, you know what, I'm just gonna build a server-side page like I did in the good old days.
Yeah, just a return to basics, because a lot of stuff is so cyclical where it hasn't changed much. It's just, it's easier to do now.
Yep.
And so being able to return to that where it feels natural almost, but also kind of fun it's nice. I like that
nice.
We've gotten to that point. What got you into the industry in the first place?
So money. Yeah, is really the short answer there. Nice. I was working with my dad on a family business. We imported and exported furniture, and I was doing some of the business operation type stuff. And it just kind of collapsed in the, I don't know, what was that, 2008, 2009 recession?
Yeah.
I think we're coming up on we're in another one now, so I'm gonna have to start remembering what year that was to differentiate them. But we were in that time, and yeah, the business just like fully went under. I had to try to figure out what I was gonna do. And I was like, well, I kind of know a little bit of Photoshop from being a photographer. I bet I could like cut up some PSDs into HTML, which was very much a thing back then. And I could make a little bit of money doing that. And so I kind of pivoted into tech, and in like the most minimal way possible. So I was doing that. And then I was like making people's email signatures for their email clients. Nice. So it was just like anything that I could like pick up that was kind of at the fringes that like nobody else wanted to do. That's what I did. And I kind of like started to like roll that into like, then I was like updating WordPress templates, and then I was kind of creating templates, and yeah, just kind of this like snowball effect just off of trying to, make it work on these, like $10-15 an hour jobs.
And I mean, it snowballed a lot because of where you are now. And I feel like you're one of the big voices in the React community, and doing all kinds of cool things online and offline and stuff for developers. And so the snowball works.
It does. Yeah. And I think, something that I learned or I heard early on is that there's a staggering lack of kind people in tech. And I think that that's still true. I think it was maybe more true now. I think that there are just nicer people in the world in general now. But I think that it's very true that like you can go really far by just not being a jerk and just being someone that people don't hate being around.
Totally.
What a concept.
What a concept. But yeah, it's true. Like just, I think, yeah, it's like, you put the reps in and just kind of continue to like try to be like a human that people want to be around. And like, even here hanging out on this podcast, like, I feel like if I ever had a biography, it would be like, and then inexplicably Michael Chan. Like, God knows why he's there, but like,
but I know what you mean. I do think that, like, first of all, that's imposter syndrome talking. You are not inexplicable. You're cool. But it is a thing where I do think a lot of tech work in general does snowball by being kind to people and networking and reaching out to people for help and for work, and figuring out how you can get that foot in the door as often as possible.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like finding your lane, because I think for a lot of people that lane is open source. Sometimes it's just like straight up networking, like adding people on Twitter. I can't do that. That makes me feel so uncomfortable, just like reaching out to people on Twitter. But for me, it was a podcast. I was just like, oh, hey, I want to learn this stuff. I'll talk with people who know this stuff. And yeah, I think streaming's a great lane for that. But yeah, there's so many ways that you can kind of find a place that you feel comfortable and just build that network.
All right, we are going to transition to rapid fire questions. We're going to ask you questions rapidly. So first of all, we all have domain names and project ideas that we are squatting on. What are yours?
Oh man, most of mine are extremely inappropriate jokes that are like, I just keep renewing because every year they're just really funny to me. I don't know if they're like, I mean, they're really bad. But one that always makes me laugh that is appropriate is the internet is algoresblog.com. Which I think you have to be of a certain age to really even understand why that's funny, which is why I keep renewing it for myself every year.
Sometimes you just have those domain piles where you're just like, I'm going to keep renewing this, even though I'm the only person that will ever get this.
100%.
But you own it.
Yeah, it's mine.
Yeah, these are like the original NFTs of the internet, I think.
Yeah, the scarcity.
Interesting way of looking at it.
It can only be one. It can only be one.
Reminds me of something that a friend, Jason Langsdorff, said. He was like, sometimes when I look at my projects or domains and stuff, I feel like a raccoon and I'm like, stay away from my trash.
All right. What is the most recent thing you over optimized?
Okay, so I am a chronic under optimizer these days.
Ooh.
Yeah, I have a story to go along with this. When I was really starting to get into professional web development, I had a mentor, Kevin Thompson, awesome guy, super helpful. And we were building a site for this meetup that we were co-organizing at the time. And I was like continually delaying it. Like I was doing like the front end design and, development stuff, continually delaying it. And then one day I was messaging him. I was like, hey, I'm almost there, like whatever. And he's like, well, you might want to hurry up because I'm just like pushing your branch to production now. And that changed that moment changed the way that I think about like code and like getting out there completely. And so a lot of times like now I just like really live by that mantra of like just get it out there. Like every time you step away, like push it as much as you can. To the extent that you are allowed to, right? But like just really like get stuff out there quickly, but then also leave that time, like, make an account for that time to come back and make it better when you have more information and whatnot. So yeah, definitely a chronic under optimizer. You can see that at my site at chan.dev. You can see the extent to which I under optimize all of this, all of my work.
But it works and it's public.
Yeah, yes, it works and it's public.
That's what matters. There's a quote somewhere where it was like, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary fix. Very true sometimes.
It hurts.
A lot of code bases.
Just hearing that hurts.
I know. I only heard it recently and I was just like, this is a personal attack on me specifically.
Oh
gosh. All the devs watching this are just like, oh no.
We're sorry. We've seen the future and it's grim.
Yeah. And we know because we built it. What is your golden rule for coding and for working?
I really live by like SOLID, the acronym that has a bunch of really confusing terms. That was something that came to me early in my career. Not a huge fan of the person who kind of created the initialism there, but all of the underlying computer science concepts are really solid. Really like those. Honestly, all of those have really helped me organize code better. And I found that no matter what it is, whether it's like React or CSS or, PHP back in the day, thinking about things in terms of decomposing them using those principles has really helped me a lot. It helps with writing tests. It helps with just, sharing code, as we have more, shareable, communicable components and whatnot. I think Solid has really helped me out. Everything kind of goes through that filter of how do I solidify this code. But yeah, that's, if I had a golden rule, that's probably it.
Nice. I also don't remember what those letters stand for. Like I know the concepts. I couldn't tell you.
I try this every time, like, because they're so silly. So like was it single responsibility principle, right? That one's like the easiest one. But then you have like open closed principle, Liskov substitution principle. I think this is where it goes really off the rails.
Yeah, this once again, I couldn't.
Yeah, no. So it's fun. Look it up. There's a good Wikipedia page on it.
Yeah. What is your favorite "it depends" question?
A product that can help me with adult incontinence, it voiced as a millennial in 2015. Alex. Sorry.
What is fiber?
Yeah. They're all "it depends" questions. Yeah. What is fiber?
I did not expect the poop jokes to come out of this one, but here we are.
Here we are. Be honest, I don't know what the word incontinence means.
It means
I'm gonna let you Google that.
I'm gonna Google that after this. But I'm just like using context clues from your reactions. I'm like, oh, we're just like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I remember there was, I forgot when it was. Someone was giving a talk about developer incompetence, but they kept saying incontinence instead.
No.
And it was one of the best talks I've ever had the pleasure of listening to, especially when they realized their mistake after delivering said talk.
That's amazing. I'm getting real
it was
toilet South Park vibes right now. Developer incontinence.
Gosh, it was so funny. What is the oldest piece of tech that you still own?
Okay, I pulled this out just in case we talked about keyboards. So this is kind of like a video thing, but also say it. So I have, when I was in the height of my like keyboard lust phase, I bought myself the one that I really wanted, which is this Apple Extended. I think was it Apple Extended Keyboard 2.
Wow.
Yes, it is very cool. It sounds like it's just got like a really cool old school kind of like thuddy knocking on wood kind of sound. I love it. It's really hard. Like it is extended. So like if trying to use a mouse on my right side, it's like
it's really long.
Trying to grab something around someone else. So that's really tricky. And then I have to have this like really kind of like shady kind of iMate thing to connect it from PS2 to USB-A. And I don't even know if they make these. I had to buy it on eBay from like, rare stock type of thing. I think this costs more than the keyboard, to be honest, just to be able to plug it in.
I believe it. I love seeing those old keyboards, but yeah, it's always like a bunch of chaotic dongles and stuff just trying to connect everything together.
Yeah, and like people who complain about like USB-A have clearly never used PS2 because like this like it just disconnects itself. It just like you blow on it and they just fall apart.
It's like it's done. You're disconnected now.
What is the cringiest piece of code that you've ever written?
Anything having to do with pagination on any tool. Pagination anywhere. It's been gross every single time.
I relate to that deeply. If I can avoid pagination, I will. What is your favorite programming pun?
Okay, so this isn't exactly a pun, but every time I do space between in Flexbox, I sing it in that Dave Matthews, because like back in like 2000, Dave Matthews wrote a song called The Space Between, and so every time I write it, I can't help but the space between. Like it's so stupid.
I request that you make a video just of that.
Yes, a YouTube short.
Maybe that's my foray into TikTok is the space between.
Wow, you have to know. That would be really fun.
And then lastly, what is your most used emoji these days?
It has to be smiling with 3 hearts. I think that is the like the state that I want to live in, is just being like, it just represents, like gratitude and just happy to be here. Like, which is honest. Like I really am just anytime like this podcast, hanging out with you all, like just, I enjoy being here. I'm grateful to be alive. And like, that's the one that kind of embodies it for me.
Good vibes.
I love that one a ton. It's also probably mine, but I have one that's like on Discord and it's a pumpkin, but it's the exact same emoji, but it's a pumpkin. And I don't know why, but it's become my default. It's just a pumpkin with the 3 smiling hearts. It's great.
The seasonal 3 hearts. I might have to go order that on Fiverr. All season, all holidays. Give me the 3 hearts.
All right, it is time for the random segment generator. We're going to do random questions that are super, super random. And the first one, their segment is 404s and heartbreak. What's something that has been taken off the internet? It shows a page not found that you miss.
Okay, so I'm not exactly, I don't think it's a 404. I think it's like some kind of like security error. But my first podcast that I made with a friend of mine called Bird Call Review, I'm going to be honest, I am sure that I said some terrible things on that podcast. So if you find it, please don't judge me. But it will be hard for you to find because I think that there was some like security policy on my AW3 or AWS bucket that shifted, and now none of those episodes are available, even though like the website and like iTunes still has them all. So I may or may not fix that. Maybe that was God just being like, you know what? This doesn't need to be on the internet anymore. It doesn't need to be on the internet anymore.
Get that off.
Moving on to our next segment, it's merge conflict. So what's a merge conflict that you had to deal with before, and how'd you overcome it?
Okay, so I feel like some of my answers are so just like non sequitur for these things, but I think it does represent a pattern in my life of like finding pain and then consummately avoiding it like forever. But I tend to not have a lot of merge conflicts because I spent a lot of time like learning how to Git. And so I just do a lot of things to avoid that. So I try to, I live by a lot, like a, single feature per branch type of rule. I'm always moving history forward on those branches to make sure that there's no problems with those branches. I love interactive rebasing stuff. So, before I even try to merge something, I will like rebase it and go through all of those commits. Yeah, so I think that, it's kind of like a non-answer, but that is really how I've avoided it.
In general.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I will say fix-up commits. Google those because like those are amazing. Like in trying to avoid merge conflicts.
I don't know what those are. I'm going to Google them.
I have a Dev2 post on it, and I will share it with you.
Yeah,
fix-up
kits.
The
show notes.
Commits are amazing.
All right, and our last segment is launch lightly, crash darkly, an ode to our delightful sponsors. What is your best advice for someone starting out in the tech industry, the software development world?
Oh, that's so funny. Get good with Git. Like, I think that Git is like,
there we go.
Everything funnels through Git these days, right? And if you can get good with it, like it is a superpower. Being able to kind of like move commits around and, rebase stuff. I mean, like literally like the only time I've ever maybe had a wow while someone was pairing with me was when we did something surgical with Git. And they're like, oh, wow, I had no idea that you could do that. Yeah, Git.
Git is so powerful and magical sometimes, but like if you know how to use it, you could do anything.
Yeah, even bad stuff.
Yeah, even stuff that is very unholy.
I don't like this code. I'm going to commit it as somebody else.
If you could undo one thing in your career, what would that be?
Oh, okay. I'll be real honest, just because it fits thematically. I accidentally said there are two like big oops in my career. I accidentally said something, not accidentally. I said something ageist as a result of my own personal beliefs, being someone who is older in this field, and I deeply regret it to this day. I wish that I could unsay it. I can't, and that is something that haunts me still. I was able to like recover from it, make amends and all that stuff, but it still is one of those things. It's just a blight on my trying to be kind in this field, and it haunts me. That, and then what is it? ReactGate in like 20 something, whatever. I was hosting.
Oh gosh. Yeah. That was like 2018.
Yeah. 2018. I was emceeing a conference when all of that nonsense was going down. Not nonsense. All that stuff was going down. I didn't understand what was happening. And so like trying to be like a good MC, I was like, hey, let's like, like not worry about too much of the drama happening in the world right now. I didn't realize the extent, like in all of the things that were happening. And I feel like kind of like dismissing that particular thing as drama on accident just kind of like brought me into it in a way that I did not want to be brought into it. And I feel really bad about that even today. So these are two honest answers, I think. But yeah, I wish I could undo those. Hard reset on those.
Yeah. And for those who don't know what ReactGate was, it was a rough time in the React community where diversity has not been great in general in tech and stuff, and all of that came to light with ReactGate in the React community at that point. And
yeah,
in general, Chen, I understand what it's like to accidentally slip up in a way where suddenly you can make amends, you can apologize all you want, but it's one of those things where you're just like, I messed up.
Yeah.
But you are probably the person who will be the most unkind to yourself about it than other people. So
it is true. It is
let
true.
it get you down too much, because you're not a jerk.
Well, thank you. It is. I mean, it is wild though, and I do hope that. I mean, I think that it's important, like as people who are like trying to like find their place in this world and like get out there. Like, I do feel like it's an important reminder. Like, you will mess up, and
yeah,
we're not going to lie to you. You're probably going to think about it all the time, like, and it's going to suck. But at the same time, like, I think that if you do honestly make amends for those things, and you kind of like find it in yourself to be like, okay, where was I wrong? Like, okay, and then like sit with that, and kind of humbly approach the people that you offended or wronged in some way. Like, you really can move forward, but it doesn't, you can't erase the past. So
yeah,
I hope that anyone who is in that right now can be encouraged, because it's rough sometimes. And then listen to, Midnights by Taylor Swift. It's all about like regret and remorse and irreparable damage to yourself.
I'm the problem, it's me. On another end of the spectrum, what are you excited about in the world of software right now?
It's funny, we talked about it. Just that return to simplicity, I guess. A return to maybe not simplicity, but like the core concepts of the web, right? Like the holy trinity of the web. HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and kind of a renaissance of what can we do with these, right? How far can we take these? I love that, because I think at the end of the day, I like those are the technologies that I just really love, and trying to figure out how to use them minimally and effectively is fun, right? It's a fun part of the problem to do that. And I just I'm glad that we're turning back into a space where that is fun and there's discovery there, and we're learning about all the new cool CSS stuff that's just built into the platform. And then with accessibility, like rediscovering all of these elements that have been there for a really long time and supply superpowers to your websites. There's a lot of rediscovery that's happening, and I love it.
Yeah, for sure. It's very cool to witness it happening and kind of be a part of it too, as we're all building stuff. All right, it is time for the last part of the show. It's Cassidy's Sage Advice, and I'm Cassidy. This advice might sound cliche, it might sound silly, but be kind. Kind of like what Michael has learned, what we've seen throughout the industry. The people who are kind and helpful and are good to work with and try to be collaborative, try to be helpful, try to be pushing things forward for the next generation of tech people. It's such a good thing to do in general, just to be a good citizen, but also for your career in general, because people want to work and be around people who are kind and are helpful. So be nice to everybody. But anyway, Zach, Chan, thank you so much for joining the podcast today.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
Michael, where can people find you? What things do you want to plug?
Oh, yeah. So I am Chantastic on Twitter. While Twitter has not collapsed and fallen off into the ocean of old internet things, I am working on a YouTube channel. So at Chantastic on YouTube. And React Holiday. If you want to learn a little bit about React 18 through Next 13, I'm going to be doing that 25-ish days before Christmas.
All right.
Awesome.
And once again, because making podcasts is expensive, this show is brought to you by Launch Darkly. Launch Darkly toggles peaks of 20 trillion feature flags each day, and that number continues to grow, and you should use them. You can head over to launchdarkly.com and learn about how. Thank you for making this show possible, Launch Darkly. I've been Cassidy Williams. You can find me at Cassidoo, Cassidoo, on most things, and I'm CTO over at Contenda.
And I'm Zach, and I'm a DevRel at Rive, and you can find me on Twitter at Zach Plata.
Thank you for tuning into the Dev Morning Show at night. Make sure you head over to our YouTube channel where you can like and subscribe. You can also listen to the audio version of this wherever you get your podcasts.